2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Nine Hole Podcast. This is Ian Miller, and I am joined by Shane Shepard with Dinger Bats. Shane, what is going on, man?
Dude, just out here grinding. Can't wait to get on it. We've been talking about this for a little bit.
That's right.
Stoked.
That's right, man. That's right. Were you able to catch any football this weekend, man? Did you see any of the Colorado game last night, Coach Prime? Or are you an
Able to catch
NFL
just
guy?
I love NFL. I try to catch a little bit of college when I can. Saturdays are a big day for me as far as work, but we had a big air show here in town. So the Thunderbirds were in. So I was downtown doing some stuff with that. So I didn't get to catch as much college football as I wanted, but it's fun to
No
watch
worries.
Prime.
No worries. Yeah, no kidding, man. So obviously here with the Nine Hole Podcast, man, we aim to just try to help the next generation of baseball players, whatever age that might be, whatever level that might be at. Hopefully, something that I do here can provide value to a next up and coming baseball player. So obviously, you and I have had a relationship. Man, I've had a relationship with Dinger for quite amount of time, man. I think we first met in the Arizona Fall League,
That's
right?
it.
So Jason Worth was a teammate of mine and a hero of mine, an idol of mine, dude. So I got to play with him a little bit in 2018, and I saw that he was swinging Dinger. I also saw that he had long hair, obviously, still, and so I wanted to just be like him. I ended up going to the Fall League, and I ran into you guys one day in the Fall League, right? You guys showed up to a game. That's where you're able to showcase your stuff.
Yeah, but you were with Seattle though, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
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 So then I was still with Seattle, right? So
Right.
I showed up. I talked to you. I'm like, dude, man, Jason Worth told me to say hey to you guys. I think he ended up giving me a business card, a
Mhm.
bat to like try out, and then you guys hooked me up with a couple bats, man.
Yeah.
Is Just take me through what that whole experience is, man.
Sure.
Like you guys obviously have to market your bats, right?
Yeah.
You guys can show up in spring training, show up with some bats to use. The fall league, is that usually your primary way of getting your name out and your brand out?
It's one of them. When you talk about working with professionals like yourself, that's one of the key places. That Arizona Fall League is just an absolute gold mine for us because especially when you were playing, we had such great access to you guys. If you remember when you and I met, I was down by the dugout and you just walked right over. You were getting ready
That's
to
right.
take BP.
Yep.
That kind of access for a guy like me is just absolute gold. I
Yeah,
mean, you just can't even determine how much it's worth. So
for
we
sure.
always did that. Now, spring training is good also, but as you can attest to, there's a lot stricter rules for where I can go
Gotcha.
for spring training.
Okay.
So,
Plus, the
uh,
top prospects are in the Arizona Fall League. I mean, that's
yeah. Oh,
of
target rich.
course. Yeah.
Yeah, target rich for us.
Yeah.
Get them when they're young, get them swinging the bat, showcase what we do. And the beauty of it is, the great story about how you and I met was you came over, and I was actually trying to get a different guy at the time for Seattle that was not for Seattle, but on that fall league squad because
Yeah.
they had 4 teams
For
on
sure.
there. I can't remember who it was because I didn't get them, or else I would have remembered. But I was sitting there and you come walking over and you were like, "Hey, Jason Worth told me you guys have great wood, customer service good. I'd like to try out a couple 271s and I need them kind of quick because this fall league's going on and I'd like to swing them during the."
That's right.
And man, I cannot tell you how many times I get that request from players because they
Really.
all want free stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter what level they are, so we do it, but it's part of my job to kind of almost like stock trading. What's the right risk? Like
Gotcha.
who am I willing to part with that free
For
stuff with?
sure. Take that
And
risk with.
unfortunately, I'll be as honest as I can here. You weren't on my list, but you came,
Oldest guy in the league, baby.
and I was just like, okay, well, and I started looking at stuff, and you were asking me for 271s, which is a type of wood that I always have plenty of.
Gotcha.
The way the billet is and the major league rules. We could talk about that later. But
Yeah.
long story short, I was like, yeah, I'll get you a couple. And you're like, you don't even have to paint them, nothing crazy. I just need something to use. And you looked me dead in the eye and said, if I like them, I'll order some.
Damn straight.
So sure enough, I got them out. You got them out. And I don't know if you swung another bat after
Nah,
that.
no,
It
no
was great.
chance. No
Yeah, it was
chance,
great.
man.
We
Yeah,
still tell that story around the shop.
I love it. Yeah, I'll never forget it, man. It came, well advertised. Obviously, like Jason Worth said that you guys,
Yeah.
that's who to go to, man. So I'm glad that we were obviously able to, start that relationship, man. But
Yeah, man.
obviously, like the quality of the stuff that I was getting in the minors and major leagues through you
Right.
guys was
Right.
just insane.
Mhm.
So there's actually a story. There's actually a story that I have. I kind of got acclimated to wood bats when I had to, right? So,
Mhm.
summer collegiate league, my freshman year of college, right? That's the first
Gotcha.
time I kind of stumbled on these wood bats, man. So,
Where'd you play summer league at?
uh, I was in the Great Lakes
Yeah.
Summer Collegiate League in Ohio, Hamilton, Ohio, my first year, and then in Alaska my second year. So, man, my first year in pro ball, there was a top prospect, second rounder, that ordered some wood from a top name bat company,
Mhm.
and man, he basically said that he thought it was bad wood, and I never really understood that. I never really got that. So he put the bat on the ground and he like rolled it. He's like, dude, it's uneven, and it started each
But
bat
it would
the
wobble?
yeah each bat that was the same model, right, would have a different like path, and he was like, man, it's just uneven, and then you could, he kind of pointed it out. You could see that it was a little curved, whatever it was. And then that's kind of where my education started coming in on like, dude,
Mhm.
how do you need to treat a bat? How do you need to protect a bat, right? Just basically care for the wood bat. How
Yeah.
can you tell if it's good wood, right? Density, how hard it is, and then,
Mhm.
dude, the different types of wood, right? So
Mhm.
obviously, gonna try to tie it into what I kind of led off with here is like, dude, we're aiming to provide value to the next generation of baseball players. I didn't learn about wood bats until I had to. Man,
Mhm.
what can you maybe give to kids that are 14 to 18 that maybe haven't experienced wood bats yet, but if they want to aspire for Division 1, Division 2, Division 3 baseball, big league, summer ball, whatever it is you're going to experience with bats, like what can you give these kids maybe ahead of time, get them start thinking about it, prepared for whatever it is, ins and outs, like maintaining all that stuff.
Yeah, the best thing to think about as far as wood bats is you don't have to think about it as I'm thinking about going Division 1, so I should start swinging wood, right? You
Gotcha.
should look at it as I want to get better, so I'm going to practice with wood, right? So that way it doesn't matter what your career ends up being. Your purpose is to get better. Okay. Now, a person's getting better might just mean they get that starting spot at high school. Okay, great. Job well done. But wood bats are harder to hit. As far as the sweet spot's smaller, they're less forgiving, they don't go as far, right? So you take a 271 similar to what you started using at first. Now you obviously changed your models. We got deeper into the rabbit hole of models.
That's right.
But that 271 that you started off with is a very small barrel in the life of a wood bat. Okay. So if the physics are smaller barrel, smaller hitting space, harder to hit. On that other side of the coin, if you do hit it solid, she got it
Gotcha.
because it's so small. And it equates a lot to people who play golf. Very good golfers use clubs that have a smaller sweet spot. Now, when they hit the sweet spot, which they
It'll
do a lot
go.
because they're better golfers, they hit it further. It's a
Gotcha.
similar concept with wood bats. So, what I tell all younger players, and I'll be honest with you, it's getting younger every year. It's getting younger from who I target on the pro side. It's getting younger for summer tournaments. I mean, my boss Kyle is in Jackson, Tennessee this weekend doing a 10U wood bat tournament.
That's crazy.
10U.
10U using wood bats.
I mean, and they're grinding. It's awesome. You're out there, you're hearing the sound hit. I
Love
mean, I love it. Of course, I'm biased because of what I do for a living, but still,
it.
it's just, I mean, it's awesome stuff.
For sure.
So they're getting started younger, and just the biggest what we've gotten to is this: they are not using it when they get to high school. It's a tough transition because those metal bats, they're this big around
Oh yeah.
and they're so
Forgiving.
balanced, they're forgiving, and they're balanced, and they have the huge head on 'em.
Get away with a lot.
If I make a bat with that big a head on it, dude, it's gonna be a 40-ounce bat. I mean,
That's
it's just gonna be
insane, man.
so heavy. So we
So
have to make it as big
what?
as possible without it being too top heavy.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Plus, I'm sure, like, sizing, specifications, all that stuff
yeah,
come into play.
yeah.
So
So I always tell coaches, dads, whoever's asking me, I'm like, if they're talking about their kid wants to get into wood bats, I'll say, listen, if you're hitting a 32, whatever their drop 8 is, or whatever their D Marini is, get a 32, drop 3. It's going to feel super heavy, but just swing it in the cage. That's all you got to do.
yeah,
Just hit it in the cage, hit it in the cage. When game day comes and you've got that big cat 10 in your hand, it's going to be like swinging a toothpick.
for
So,
sure.
and now all of a sudden you're acclimated. You've had a wood bat in your hands. You know what it's about. You know what it feels like. Now summer collegiate ball comes up. Now all of a sudden, hey, this isn't new to me. It's not that foreign to me. I know what I can get. Now you just got to get strong enough to swing it and get it around. So that part's on you. My part, as far as the bat's done,
I
that's
love it.
basically what I would tell them as far as the concept of swinging them, maintaining a bat. Really, just stay away from humidity. I mean,
Gotcha. Because
a
it adds
wood
to the
bat,
weight, right, over time.
it adds to the weight over time. Now, you and I ran into an issue, if you remember. I think it may have been when you were with the Cubs. You had a couple
Mine
bats.
last year.
Was that Cubs or were you at the
Yeah,
Twins?
yeah, what you have Cubs AAA, man.
Okay. You had some bats that you had either left home and went somewhere and came back, then
Yeah,
you
they
brought
were
them back
older,
out. They were older bats,
for sure.
but you said those balls were hopping off those things
Oh,
like you
dude.
wouldn't believe.
Dude, it was insane, and then we weighed them. So it was
Right.
this was the first time ever that the clubby that I ever had, like, one of those little scales, right? They're just a little weight, right? And you could put the bat on there,
You could
and
set it right on it, right?
yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. That was the first time ever, and I'm like, obviously, as the season drags on, you're like, "Shit, man. I'm getting a little weaker. I'm getting a little tired, so my bat
Yeah,
feels a little heavy." Lo and behold, I didn't know humidity added, to the
absolutely.
to the weight of the bat, right?
Yep.
So I put, I think it was like a 33 and a half, 32 and a half, something around,
Mhm.
something like that. And I put it on there and it was like 3 ounces heavier. Like, it was almost pushing, like it was
Yeah, it's
past
almost
34
even.
ounces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you called me and you were like, I think was it Otis that put the that weighed it, or was it Danny at the Cubs? Whichever one it
Danny.
was, I
Danny.
think it
It
may have
was
been
Danny.
Danny,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
Danny texted me right after y'all did it and was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" Like, because 'cause we'll get in trouble for something like that. And I remember him saying, "Oh, wait a minute, he told me these are old bats," or something
That's
like
right.
that.
Had pine
And he
tar and
said
stuff on them too.
they were 34, 33 and a half.
It's crazy, man. And that's like, that's nuts.
Most
I
people
mean,
order that to train with. Like, they do that, for training in the
dude, I
States.
was out there getting hitting streaks with this stuff, man.
So, yeah.
I'd just choke up. I'd get on the plate and choke up. But
Yeah.
so I was always told coming up. So I started out using like big barrel bats,
Mhm.
right? Obviously coming from college, coming from high school, college, and
Sure.
then into wood. Like, that's not an easy transition, dude.
Very
So I
good.
tried to replicate the best that I could, the metal bat, dude. So I would use a big bat, and then I kind of went away from it. Kind of came back to that towards the end of my career. But I was
Mhm.
told as a contact guy coming up in high school and college that a bigger barrel will help you with bunts, right? It'll help you, stay alive, all that stuff, foul some
Mhm.
stuff off, bigger, circumference, whatever it is. And then as I kind of progressed through my career, probably around AA, AAA, I had a coach, first base coach, that was a speed guy that was like, dude, I use a skinny barrel. Obviously, it's a little easier, with a well balanced bat, like a 271, something like
Mhm.
that. You can whip it through the zone, but like, I don't want to put something in play weak. So if it's an 0-2 count and it's, a changeup on the lower third outside, and
Yeah.
you flail your ass out, and you with a big barrel bat, you might put it in play, right? A CB15 or something, 243, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Whereas if I used a 271, maybe I could just flick it foul, right? Foul it off with a
Yeah.
with a smaller bat. Maybe I mean, dude, when I was told that kind of just like flipped for me, and then I
Mhm.
started kind of trying that out. Do you think that like carries weight, man? Is that like a decent
100%.
mindset?
100%.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, a lot of people don't get it. They still to this day, I've got players that are trying to make it and they want these big barrels. And, with the Major League Baseball rules that they implemented to keep bats from breaking in two pieces and flying out into the crowd, in order to minimize that, we've been we have restrictions put on us on the density of the original starting billet, right?
That's with the dot test thing, right? The
That's
marker?
part of it. Yeah,
Okay.
the dot is to measure the grain variation. MLB wants the grain to be straight.
Okay.
That way, if it cracks, it stays together. If a grain varies this way, then they anticipate it breaking completely in half, but going to fly. But the grain is only part of it. The biggest thing is the AP5, the Albert Pujols.
Oh,
That barrel is so big and the handle is so small. 96 in on the hands. That bad daddy is a javelin.
she gone.
Oh, she gone. So they started doing a grandfather deal. So like Albert, all the way up to when he retired, he could still use his bat. He was grandfathered in. It was like,
LDM, right?
what's that?
Is that LDM or whatever it's called? Is
Yeah,
that
low density is what the LD, and then maple, because
okay? Got it.
they don't measure it with birch or ash, which
Okay,
that's the only three that MLB will let you use: ash, birch, maple.
gotcha,
So maple's the only one they have an issue with, because birch grains are different, and it's a little technical, but you just don't see birch bats breaking in half.
gotcha.
It's always the maple. So we've had to start trimming that down, and it would grandfather in. Similar to, even, I mean, obviously it's your show, so I'll bring you up as an example. When you went to that CB15, that is a huge barrel. The original CB15 I couldn't make for you.
Gotcha. It wasn't in
We
the
had
guidelines or in the
it was too big,
rules.
so I would have to shave that barrel down. And we do that, like, if you ordered a 243 today, I'd have to ask, I'd have to know where it was going, because the original
Gotcha.
243 we can't do for certain players.
Ah,
So I have a website through Major League Baseball I can enter in, and it was basically, if you signed your original pro contract by date X, you could have this variance. If it
sick.
was after, it could be this, and then it was staged out or whatever. So um,
Makes
it's a
sense.
little different, but most of them are gone. There's only maybe, like Hayward. He's one of my players that he can still use a big barrel. He's
Yeah,
been in
he's
the game
because he's been
long enough.
around.
Yeah. So,
Gotcha.
and Hayward, every year I'm at winter meetings, he's on the top of the list of what they call multi fraction bullshit, where it goes breaks in half and they have to run and get it. And all that stuff. But Hayward's like, I don't care.
Yeah. Hey,
What
whatever.
I like.
Yeah. Hey, I like
Yeah.
that, man. So
Yeah.
as it kind of pertains to the different types of wood, right? So
Yep.
we touched on ash, maple, birch. Yeah, I guess yellow birch, whatever it is.
Yep.
Man, what are like the specific, like what's different between them? But what performs better maybe in cold weather as opposed to warm weather? What does better in humidity or summer, whatever it is? Man, what are some things that differentiate ash, maple, birch?
Realistically, there's no difference in any of the three. Got the Thunderbirds coming over, so bear with me as we
All
go into
good.
this. But there's really no difference in weather. If it's cold and you got an ash birch or maple and you hit it in a certain spot on all three, it's going to be relatively the same,
Gotcha.
no matter. Humidity is going to be bad for any of the three. Similar to
Okay.
what we talked about, it just picks up weight, whatever. The difference is how the barrel of that bat transfers through the strike zone. And that's because of the tightness of the grains.
Damn.
They're loud. Those F-16s are loud. But so the grains on an ash bat are a certain distance apart.
Okay.
Birch are closer. Maple are the tightest. Okay, so you're going to see that bat head be slightly behind your hands with an ash bat, because
Okay.
it literally has a little torque to it,
It'll flex.
a little flex,
Okay.
right? Which is good and bad. Chipper Jones thinks it's great because he grew up with an ash bat. He knew where that barrel was going to be and loved it,
Gotcha.
because it will give you just a little bit of whip
It's a
right through the
different swing maybe than
different swing, maybe what you're used to. But you're really good players. There was a good player. What was that kid's name? He was from Canada. Jordan Litterton. You remember him? Big guy. He was in the uh, Cleveland system for a long time. Swung our
mm,
bats religiously. But he was one of the few players that I dealt with that could do either birch or maple. Didn't care. He knew where his hands were going to be and where the barrel was going to be, no matter what he was swinging.
really.
and he would. And birch has a tendency to get a little better as it's hit.
I've always
Almost,
heard that.
yeah,
Gets harder
almost
with
like a
time.
break in. Yeah, almost like a break in time period with a metal bat. It's not near as significant as a metal bat or an aluminum bat, but there's a little bit of that to it. So that's really the only difference. It's just where that barrel is going to be in the strike zone compared to where your hands
Okay.
are. As long as you know, it's fine.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if you don't know, it's trouble. You
Okay.
catch somebody that's just 100% swinging maple their entire life and throw them an ash bat, and somebody comes in there with a nice little cutter around 96.
They'll notice a difference.
See, I mean,
Yeah.
the bat head will be way behind the ball because you thought
Oof.
that maple was supposed to be here, right?
Okay.
The ash is here. Well, at 96, that ball's already gone.
Gotcha.
So, so as long as you know it, there's not a whole lot of sorcery to it. It's
Okay.
just a matter of ash is a little weaker through the strike zone. Birch a little better, maple, telephone pole. It is where it is, etc.
Nice.
But the key thing people think is, well, if maple's harder, then it's going to go further, or
Yeah.
whatever. That's not true. Sweet spot on an ash bat will go just as far as a sweet spot on a maple.
Really?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So what is okay? So you got these guys behind you, Jazz Chisholm,
Mm-hmm.
man, Jay Hay, Schwarb, Matt Adams. What are those guys swinging? Are
All maple. All
all
maple.
maple? How about the majority of you got of your players that swings in the
90%
big leagues?
maple.
90%
90%
maple. Really? What's second? Is that ash or is that birch?
birch. Birch. Ash is really almost non-existent. I mean, we still do a little bit of it, but so many players are just past it. They just don't want to use it. They haven't used it. They didn't use it growing up. And then there's a supply chain issue too. There's a beetle. It's called a ash borer beetle that has infested a lot of land up north where we have to get our wood, and it makes it very difficult to get what we need.
No
So
way.
yeah, so like I live in Kentucky, so if an ash tree fell out of the yard next door, I couldn't use it. It's just the environment that tree grew up in won't work for us. It
Gotcha.
has to be cold. That tree has to grow up and have those grains grow close together. Because you think about a tree, it's a living organism, right?
Yeah.
So if it's cold, what's it going to do? It's going to bundle up. It's going to have its grains go closer and closer to stay warm.
Really?
So that's what you need as a player. You need tight grains.
Yeah.
So I need that from a tree that grew up north. So I've got Major League Baseball only let us get our wood from like 4 manufacturers, really qualify through the quality control process. And you're talking upstate New York. I've got one supplier in Canada. I mean, it's got to be cold, son.
That's
So
insane.
yeah, so it's we get those. We get at least one call a week. Hey, I had this big maple tree fall down in my yard. Y'all want to buy it? Well,
Can't, man.
no, it's not going to work for us. But
So on Dinger's website, man, you guys obviously, Jazz and Reese Hoskins are the two top main guys when you log in there. Man, what are they using? Like what are their models? Right? Are they more top heavy? Are they more balanced? Are they using big logs, dude? Are they using
yeah,
like 35 or what are they swinging?
both Reese and Jazz are drop 3, so there's nothing super crazy about that.
Okay,
Now Reese, I've known Reese since he was in the minors. He swung us all through the minor leagues, and he's went through several model changes, several, all the way from the barrel all the way down to the knob. The most recent thing we made for him is a big barrel, medium through the handle, and then he is elected to eliminate the knob. It's what they call the
it's like
no knob.
a cone looking thing.
Yeah, it looks like a cone. I don't have one.
Ugh,
I don't have one here, but
oof,
that's what he's been with for the longer period of the numerous stuff. But it
really?
is a bigger barrel bat. Of course, Reese is young in that whole concept I was telling you about how big I can make the barrel.
Yeah,
He's young in the sense of it's as big as I can make a barrel without it getting me in some trouble. He would never be in trouble, but I would. Jazz swings a bat. I got one of those.
Sick.
Yeah, so Jazz swings a very large barrel. His two is also probably as big as I can make it
Okay.
without getting in trouble, and it's also long. If you
Okay.
remember that CB15 you swung,
Yeah,
it stayed big for a pretty good while.
that's right.
So this isn't far off from that. And
Okay.
then he's got a thicker barrel, almost like did you ever swing one of those 110s?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
M110?
Yeah.
It's just a tad thinner than that, but his knob, look how much that thing
Oh
flares.
my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, there's barely
Got
any
that
ridge.
whip, that whip.
Yeah, and he goes up over it like that.
Oh, he's
Uh,
swinging.
yeah. So that's kind of what he's went with. He's stuck with this for a while. He started to swing some Chandlers, and they actually took one of these bats and copied it. Yeah,
Sick.
yeah. So
Sick.
that's what that is. So
Do you find that more dudes that hit home runs, right? Not necessarily power hitters, but the guys that hit more home runs, are they using top heavy bats or are they using like
no, not really,
271 ish?
not really, because like I said, a 271's barrel is really small, but it's so dense. I mean, that wood
Okay.
is hard. I mean, it's because I can use a denser billet, which is what we call the starting point, which is just a big 36 round billet. If I'm making a 271 for you, I pull the densest MLB billet I have, and I'm stoked to make it because I know when you get it, that thing is going to be hot. Now, 271 is just not as popular as it was back when you first started your 271 journey. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
What's hot now? Like what would you say the consensus is? Like who's swinging what in the big leagues?
so the biggest thing right now is the bigger barrel with that 271 handle and knob. So uh, I'll try to keep this somewhat out of the rabbit hole, but when Schwarber came on, he was drafted 5th overall. His agent and I were good friends in the sense that I had 5 guys that he represented swinging our bats at the time.
Phew.
So I was on my way to Cincinnati to see Billy Hamilton. Remember how
Mm.
fast Billy Hamilton was? He was
Oh
so
yeah.
fast. But I was on my way to see him. He had gotten called up. So the only thing I had in my car was basically 33s because Billy, he's not swinging on 34s. He's swinging something to, get
Touch
the
it.
barrel to it, yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
he can go. So my phone rings. It's Schwarber's agent, and he's like, "Hey man, draft just took place. I got the number 5 overall pick. I need to get him a bat." And of course, we follow draft pretty steady because we're keeping an eye on them. We actually get bats in their hands before the draft a lot of times. But nobody really thought Schwarber was going to go that high.
Really?
Yeah, and so I said, "So you got Schwarber?" And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't realize you were going to represent him." Blah blah blah. He goes, "I need to get a 34-31. When can you get it?" I said, "Well, I mean, it takes me a couple weeks to make a bat. This isn't our first go around. What do you mean?" He goes,
Yeah,
"No,
yeah.
he's in the lineup Friday. This was Wednesday." I was like, "Yeah, I don't. We can't make it that fast and paint it. It just can't be done." He goes, "What do you got?" I said, "Well, what models he swing?" He doesn't even swing. He doesn't know.
He just needs something and he needs it quick.
Yeah, and I said, "Listen, bud, it could look bad on me if I send him a model that he doesn't like.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because if I send him
Absolutely.
Jazz's model, it's got this big knob, and he doesn't like it. That'd probably be the last time he ever picks my bat up." He said, "No, he's not that guy.
Ooh.
He is not going to walk into that high A clubhouse without his own bat." I said, "Listen, boss, I'm on my way to Cincinnati to see Billy Hamilton. I don't even think I got a 34 on me, but let me pull over. I'll look." I had one or two 34 bats that were in the back of my truck. I don't even know why they were there. It was a TL8 that I made for Taylor Lindsay out in Arizona,
Okay.
and a stock 318.
Oh, big
That
barrel.
318, big old thing.
Whew.
And I told him, called him back. He said overnight to Iowa, or no, it wasn't Iowa. It was or I don't know wherever AAA for Chicago was back in whatever year it was.
Okay.
So I did. Went straight off the exit. went into the Kroger packing ship, shipped him his 2 bats overnight. Schwarber, in his first game, goes 3 for 4, 2 homers.
Was he using the 318?
So he calls me the next day, his agent. He goes, "Man, I'm going to buzz Schwarber in on a conference so we can talk about the bat." So we go on their 3-way. Schwarber's like, "Dude, these bats are sick. I've never seen them cross the ball." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, that's what we do. I said, "Which one do you like?" He goes, "The 318 is too top heavy. It was just felt like everything was going to dive down." He goes, "But this other one, this TL8, it's awesome." He goes, "That's what I swung last night. It's great. Only thing I would ever change is if I just shave the barrel just a little bit so that it didn't feel." Actually, he didn't say that. I'll take that back. He said, "If I can just make it feel a little less top heavy."
Okay.
My answer was, "Sure, I can just shave that barrel a little bit. You'll never know the difference from performance, but you'll feel the difference." So called the shop, chalked them up, called Schwarber. "What do you want to call this thing?" He said, "Call it the KS10." Because 10 was his number at Indiana University.
Got you. Okay.
So that model is what he's swinging now, even though it says Louisville Slugger on it. It's the exact same model, and it's what's available on our website. He never changed model. He swung the
Incredible.
same thing ever since. So to answer your question, that's the biggest bat that I send out to all my players that are looking for something to start with. I send them the KS10 because it's a bigger barrel and it's got that handle that's similar to what they've been swinging on the aluminum side.
For sure, dude. I tried it out. I think you sent me a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah,
those in spring training in
yeah.
21 maybe.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great bat. I mean, you kind of get the best of both worlds. It's balanced, doesn't have that top heavy feeling to it, and everybody seems to like it. Now, people will come in, they'll swing it, and they want a little thicker barrel. They want a little thinner
Yeah.
this, a little less cup. Rafi Lopez swung the KS10 forever, except he just wanted a shallow cup.
Ah.
Whatever,
Ah.
whatever you like, boss.
Okay. That
We
makes
can do it.
sense, man. Um so how can you tell how can a player tell? So backtrack a little bit. Back a little bit. So when I was going through the not pre-draft workouts, man, but like going into college, right? I did a couple showcases,
Hmm.
man, and dude, I just bought bats at like Dick's Sporting Goods. My mom just bought
Right.
me like a wood bat at Dick's Sporting Goods, man. I actually think going right before the draft when I got drafted, I used a bat in a workout that was
Hmm.
from like I think it was like Kelly Sports or something like that.
Right.
And then I ended up taking it into my first year in pro ball before I got bats made for me, and I hit a home run with it. My only home run my first year. So obviously that wood that you get at Dick's Sporting Goods or Kelly Sports or what any type of sporting goods store is going to be different from the wood that you guys make or a bat company makes, right? Obviously it's professional grade wood. How can you tell or how can a kid tell if it's good wood, right? Is it like I always heard you can pick the bat up and kind of like hit it with your palm, hear the pitch of it. Obviously if
Yeah.
it's a higher pitch dependent upon the model, right? The higher, pitch could matter. Obviously, grains can matter, but how can you tell, if wood is good wood?
Grain is a very common, easy to look at. I mean, you can look at the grain, and if it's not crooked, if it doesn't have knots in it, if it's not wavy, you've got a pretty decent piece of wood.
Gotcha.
Now, the problem is kind of we've talked about this before. Like if you buy the AP5 or the McCutcheon model from Marucci at Dick's, that's a good piece of wood. It just you don't know what it's done after it left Marucci's assembly line. It could go to a distribution center in southern part of the United States, then get shipped to a store on the East Coast. You don't know how
Oh,
long that's taken. And any time a bat changes in humidity or anything of that nature, it might offset.
got
And
you.
then, especially like the AP5, we've talked about this as a good leeway in. The AP5 is such a big barrel, right? So let's say it took it 4 weeks to get to its final destination and it sat on the floor at Dick's for another 2 weeks. Tell them how many different humidity environments it's been in. Now all of a sudden, that bat is so dense on that head of that bat, 75 off the label is going to break it in half.
Oof.
You know what I mean? To where if you took that bat out the day it came off the line, that may not have happened.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and so like we this year is our first year. We went. Jazz put a model in Dick's Sporting Goods. It was a custom white with a bunch of splatter. You know, he likes that stuff. So we
Yeah, yeah,
did a
yeah.
limited run with them, and obviously it was game ready. Like Jazz could have used it if he wanted, but they
Jeez.
only put it in 2 stores, and it was direct ship from us to the store. So not through the distribution center.
Gotcha. So you knew
And
it was direct
yeah,
to the
and
store.
that
There
was the
was
only and that was the only way I would do it. When I
I love it.
negotiated the deal with Dick's, I said that's the only way that myself or Jazz's group is going to sign off on it. So we did that, and kind of what we had to agree to do is what they call a direct ship. So outside of those Jazz models, we have 5 other models on the Dick's website. Well, Dick's doesn't touch those bats. You go on Dick's website and order that, it ships that day from my shop.
No way.
Yeah, straight from my shop to there in one day. So we we toyed with the whole retail, big box retail for several years. And it didn't make financial sense for a long time because they just didn't want to pay us anything. And from experience, all we sell is the highest quality wood. So
Damn straight.
Walmart came to us and they wanted us to sell them bats for like $29. I'm like,
Really?
yeah.
Ooh.
I was like, I can't buy the wood for 29,
Yeah, dude. What?
much less finish it out and send it to you. So, it was a lot of non-starters there, but the market's grown and our presence has grown, our brand's grown a little bit. Get people like Jazz to get behind it and actually tweet out that he's got his model going, that kind of stuff. It's changed a little bit, but still, we did not want to put ourselves in a situation where kids were coming in, paying $150 for a bat, and breaking the first time.
Yeah,
I
nah.
mean, it's
It's
just
not it.
that's not what we marketed ourselves from the time we started or anything. So we didn't want to jump the shark and start doing it just to
That makes
be on
sense.
Dick's website.
For
So
sure. 100%.
yeah,
Dude, winding down here, man. What are some of the things that, Dinger has going on or planned for the future that, maybe you can touch on that maybe some people can get excited about, like just, bringing a little buzz around you and Dinger.
yeah. We're growing. We're working on a brand boost, if you will, getting that brand of our bats out, getting them in some of the younger kids' play hands. We've had to gear it down. I mean, I had a kid that played over in Taiwan for the U18 USA. He swung our bats the whole time. The kid's 16 years old. He's a
I love
class of
that.
24, I think. I think I may have
Smart,
sent you a link to him, right?
smart kid. Yeah.
Smart kid, and he's a
Smart
player.
kid.
And it's getting to where we just have all the other companies are doing it, so we have to keep tabs. So we're continuing to do that, but we're also probably 2 years from getting into the metal side of it.
Really?
Yeah, but it's costly. It's
Gotcha.
very expensive to get into it, and realistically, we had to make sure we're maximizing our cash cow, which are wood bats.
For
So
sure.
we feel like we're creeping up on that, where we want to be on the wood bat side of it to be able to support that endeavor. We've done some stuff with some of the additional things, the accessories like batting gloves and that kind of stuff. We kind of upped our game on that.
Yeah.
We've got some more things that are more comparable to Bryce Bolt and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to start getting that stuff out and really kind of drive the brand,
I
because I
love
mean
it.
it's
Some
all about
apparel.
driving the brand. Yeah.
For sure,
So
man. Nah, it makes a ton of sense.
it's us.
So obviously this podcast, the name is the Nine Hole,
Right.
right? When we were going through our relationship, when I was playing, right, I would be a leadoff guy or primarily used in the nine hole, right, and that can mean a whole bunch of different things, man. Some guys might view it as a bad thing, other guys, they embrace it. They, it keeps the chip on their shoulder. I love that, right? Obviously,
Sure.
you know, to me, the bottom of the order, the guy that the dumpiest hitter, right? The weakest hitter, maybe
Mhm.
hits in the nine hole. So I always got not pissed off, but like I used it as, a chip on my shoulder,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Obviously, dependent upon who's pitching, strategically who's out there, the nine hole is another leadoff man. You know what I mean? You could look at it that way too. When you think about the nine hole, and those characteristics, maybe what kind of who embodies that? Like, what do you think about when you hear the nine hole, or like, what kind of player do you think about when you hear or see the nine hole?
It's interesting. It's a great question because for me, there's two hats I have to wear to answer that question. The first one is a baseball fan. As a baseball fan, I look at that position similar to you as an additional leadoff, as a person that's going to take that chip on their shoulder and say, "You probably should have never put me in the nine." That's as a fan, as a person that loves the game. That's how I look at that.
Mm.
But on that other side of the hat is business, which is, like you said, normally your lower average hitters are down in that order, 8, 9 hole specifically. Well, for me, business wise, that's target rich because if you're batting 219, you're more likely to try my bat out because obviously you're isn't doing something right.
Yeah.
Always the arrow, never the hunter, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So, so I'm going to target those guys. You know, if I'm watching my stats and I see a guy's batting down around the Mendoza,
He
I'm
needs
gonna
me.
fire, I'm gonna fire off a couple billets. I'm gonna get them out
Oh,
there. They're gonna be in his locker when he shows up the next day. Why not? Right?
yeah. What's the
Because
definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing
continuing
over and over,
over
expecting
and
different
over.
results.
But what you won't have happen is the cleanup batting 305. You think he's gonna try my bat out if I send it to him?
If it
No.
ain't broke,
That's exactly right.
makes
Now
sense.
I can lose players just the same way. My
Yeah,
guy that was batting 275 earlier in the season goes in a slump, gets it down 240. He's going to try something else.
for sure.
It's part of business. You win some, you lose some. So that's kind of how I see that 9-0, right? I see it as a fan. I see it as let's go. Put me in there. I'll show you why I shouldn't be there.
I
As a
love it.
businessman, you're my guy. You're on my list. I'm checking you out every night, seeing what you're doing. Let me get you something that's going to help you out.
Beautiful. Nah, it makes a ton of sense, man. Shane, that's all I got, dude. I appreciate you
Awesome.
making time. Is there anything you want to add? Anything you want to hit on? Anything?
Oh man, no, just I can't believe we got to get together. If you look at where our relationship from a business standpoint and a friendship going forward, to think we got to sit here and do a podcast together and talk about what you did, what I do, how they intertwine. So awesome! I can't thank you enough for having me on. It's awesome.
Oh, dude, my pleasure, man. Where can these guys find you? Right. So the Dinger website,
Yeah, man. It's
Instagram, all that stuff.
all the socials. We're on them. We're always trying to grind out some stuff out there. We're trying to hit some influencers that want to come on, try a few bats. We're about anything moving the brand. So everybody else, bat maker wise, is doing it. So we're right there on board. Anybody wants to make a video and use our bat, we're about it.
I
So
love that. I love that. Well, I appreciate your time, brother. Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you for
man.
tuning in, and
Awesome. Can't
thank
wait to
you
watch.
everybody. Yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you again next week.
Awesome. See you guys.